On our last episode, we walked you through our member evolution and our membership model. If you missed it, go back and listen because today we're picking up where we left off, which is at the very bottom of every member's evolution, the financial abyss. Now, we don't mean drowning in debt or living paycheck to paycheck. We know you earn a very good living, but there may very well still be a lack of clarity or even confusion around some of the most important parts of your financial life. And if you don't have clarity here, it can be really hard to build lasting wealth. So today, Joe and I are sharing 3 signs that you are in the financial abyss and what you can do about it. So, number 1 is you don't know your numbers. Joe, what do we mean by that?
Well, I think first start with the principle. There's a principle, business management principle that says what gets measured gets managed. And so a lot of times, I mean, honestly, so many people when they come to us, they don't know really any of the numbers. Maybe they know how much money they make, but even some of them, it's like chasing some of that down because it comes from disparate sources. I've got 1099, I've got W-2, I've got K-1s, whatever it might be. But then starting to get down to like granular things like how much do I need to actually live the life I want? Not necessarily how much am I spending. It's how much do I need to live the life that I want? And so I think just having clarity around those numbers becomes really important.
For sure. Have you ever done P90X?
Yeah, back in the day.
I love me some Tony Horton. Dave and I did P90X multiple times. And in 2020, I had Tony Horton send Dave a cameo, like a video message for his
Yeah,
birthday.
yeah.
He did such a good job. But one of Tony's taglines is like, what are your numbers? What are your numbers? Because, like you said, if you don't know where your numbers are, whether it's in money or weightlifting or anything else, how do you improve? How do you get better? So, like you said, what gets measured gets managed. And I think the reason this is so important is because we talk about lifestyle creep. Like, we're not here to tell you
Uh-uh.
how to spend your money. Like, you work hard, you deserve to spend your money how you want. But if you don't know how you're spending your money, you can't know if you're happy with it, or
Mhm.
even if how you're spending your money aligns with your values or what you say is most important to you. Because you can't, on the one hand, say, I want to retire in 5 years, but then you're spending 5,000 or more extra per month just on like nothing, Amazon or eating out too much or whatever it is. So that clarity really helps you build that solid foundation.
And I would say it takes a lot of work to get this stuff down. Like it's not as simple as some people might say. It's not even as simple as like I'd like for it to be.
Mhm.
Some of this stuff does take a lot of work. Like you've got to understand what accounts are we spending from, what credit cards, what bank accounts, wherever it might be. Tracking all that information down and monitoring it can be quite a bit. So I think, one of we always want to walk away with what can we do about it. You've done a lot of work with Monarch Money, Erin, with not only yourself but a lot of our members. Talk to them about that.
Yeah, I was a spreadsheet girl for many years and I started hearing about these software programs. And I have a lot of members who've like, oh, yeah, I tried that, but then I just didn't keep up with it. But it really does make it so easy when you link your accounts and then you can log in and see your dashboard and see your cash flow, see your spending by category and trends month over month. So it really is just putting in a little bit of work in the beginning and then kind of training it to what the transactions are. But then you have all this data month after month. And we offer that for free to our members, and then can help walk them through it. And I've had so many that say, wow, I've never had such clarity on where, and they have
Mhm.
made changes. Again, you don't have to, but just having the clarity is very important.
Well, and I think again, it's worth it. That heavy lift is worth the effort that it's going to take to get there. And again, we're not telling you how to spend your money, but how you spend your money should be intentional. Some people call it a budget. I prefer the term spending plan. It's
Totally.
a plan that you tell your money what to do, which kind of leads into some of the other stuff that we're going to talk about too. But it's just be intentional. And to get to that level of intentional, you've got to take some time and do a little bit of heavy lifting on the front end.
Yep. Okay, sign number 2, you might be in the financial abyss, is that your financial life depends on you remembering everything.
Mm.
So the question is, if you died tomorrow, would your family know what to do? Or would they be totally lost?
Hmm. I think for some people this is going to hit home pretty hard because I mean if we've had people who are close to us pass away who've been the holder of the keys to the vault, the nightmare of trying to untangle that is painful, and it's like it doesn't leave room for you to grieve. So not that this needs to be about being morbid.
Yeah.
The central principle here is you want to make sure that you have a plan in place, that there's a team, or that, people know who to go to when something happens. But I think everyone can relate to that. In that worst case scenario, what happens? Does anybody really know what's going on other than you being the central figure of it all?
So if you think, oh yeah, we'd be really screwed if I died tomorrow, what can you start doing? So one of the very first things in what we call triage, in membership is, do you have a living trust set up? I have very recent members who I just met with yesterday who set up an irrevocable trust 30 years ago. They can't track down who did it, or there's like an insurance policy in there and it's just a mess and they just need to start from scratch. But it's like, a living trust is a living document that you can change over time, but put your assets into it. And we've done some episodes with Sierra Lister, our attorney partner, talking through why it's so important to have a living trust, how to actually fund that trust, because then a lot of people will take one step, but then not actually fund it. But this will stop your assets from going into probate if you die. And your will and all your wishes are part of that trust. So that is really step one. When you come into membership, it's like, do you have this asset protection? And then
Hmm.
it's smaller stuff too. Like, if one person handles the finances, does the other person even know where all the accounts are or what the passwords are? Like, there should be some sort of master list that you both can access where all of that lives. And then just have regular conversations with your spouse about your financial life so that if something happens to one of you, the other isn't totally in the dark.
And I would say the heavy part of this isn't so much the technical aspect of how to do this. It's the heaviness of the conversation, and like focusing on like the trust and, upon our deaths and that sort of thing. That's just a heavy concept to think about. And so people avoid it, I think, often. When I was doing a lot of one-on-one financial consulting, I would always try to make light of it. And I'd have, my, clients in front of me. And let's say it was you and Dave. And I'd be like, all right, Erin and Dave, we're going to play a really fun game. Both of you just died. Okay, what's going to happen? And look at your real situation right now.
Yeah.
If you were to die, there is a real situation that is going to play out. Is it what you want to be? Including like, oh, no, I don't want that money to go to that person anymore. I don't like that. We're not friends anymore, whatever it might be. But just facing it. And then, okay, Erin, you just died. Dave, here's what's going to happen. Dave, you just died. So I'm not saying make light of death. I'm saying like make light of this situation from a strategic planning perspective and say, can we face this? The second element that feels heavy in this is honestly just the topic of money. So depending on how people feel about things, sometimes when a couple comes together, there's his money, there's her money, there's our money, whatever it might be. And so there can be some tensions that surround the topic of money. So do you want your spouse to be fully involved in all aspects of your life? So some people just like push back and resist on that. And I think one of the things that we just want to encourage you to think about is, if you weren't here, what's going to happen? Do they really have the passwords to the accounts? Do they know where everything's at? And are we certain that it's not going to end up in probate? Because I promise you, that's not where you want anything to go.
Absolutely. Okay, sign number 3 that you might be in the financial abyss is your money is sitting still. This is something Bob talks about all the time. He calls these dormant dollars, lazy dollars. You work so hard for your money, and once you've earned those dollars, they should be working even harder than you are on your behalf. So, what do we see here with our members when it comes to lazy dollars?
Well, I think a lot of this comes from I'll call it a sense of security. And so people have like what I would consider to be way too large of security blankets available for them. Bob talks about this a lot. You don't want to have like large savings and checking accounts, but you do want to have access to capital. And so what we see often is we'll see people come to us and they've got literally like 6 figures in savings accounts that are like low yield,
100%.
those are dormant dollars that are sitting there. They're serving the banks very well. They're just not serving you very well. And candidly, they're not necessary. And we've done whole episodes on this. Maybe we should link it in the show notes. But talking about like using credit cards and having access to capital, I think that's the main thing. Is like people feel like that money that's sitting there is providing security, when the truth is it's eating away at your future security. And so you just want
Absolutely.
every dollar should have a purpose attached to it. And then you can evaluate, is it accomplishing its purpose?
Yes, there is such a cost to that. And I've heard Bob tell many members, do what makes you sleep well at night. Like, we don't want to put you in such a position that you feel like, oh, I'm so nervous. And everyone's comfort level is different. I have members who keep like nothing in checking and savings because they know another paycheck is coming. And then some that really do need that six figures sitting there and they know they're losing out on opportunity. But it's, again, having that clarity, knowing your own risk tolerance. And I think really asking yourself, what emergency could possibly happen that would need six figures immediately?
Mhm.
I mean, it's one thing to not wrap it up in something that has a 5-year or 10-year hold. Like, that is the
Right.
dollars that are beyond your access to capital. But your money should be working hard for you. And so what do? You assess, you research. Obviously, as a doctor, opportunities abound. And I think that's something that a lot of our people face, is like this paralysis by analysis. It's like, what is the right decision? So when you have good advisors and a sounding board to assess those things, but I think we're kind of, once you've done your research, you don't have to be 100%. It's like 80%. This is something that interests me. This is something that excites me. Like, put your money to work for you.
Yes. Can I give a fourth as a bonus, just
Sure.
because
Why not?
everybody loves a bonus?
Yeah.
I think one of the ways that you can or that signals that you're in financial abyss is you don't have clear goals. It's like you're kind of wandering aimlessly
Right.
throughout life financially. I think most of the people who probably listen to this channel, and certainly the members that we work with, they're very purpose driven people. They know they're on mission. They know what they're trying to accomplish. But in their financial life, it feels like they're wandering. And we've done whole episodes
Yeah.
on goal setting, and we certainly have talked about like our values, how to identify the core values that then lead to your goals. And then that leads into alignment with 510s. And so I think the main thing is like, if you find yourself wandering in your financial life, or maybe outside of work, wandering, you've got to create clarity around, this is where I'm going. So that would be the sign is you feel like you're wandering, and the solution is get clarity, and we always talk about the penultimate goal of the freedom point. You've got to identify what that looks like. This kind of ties into that first one of know your numbers. One of
Absolutely.
those critical numbers that you need to know is, what's the amount of assets that need to yield, so that I can live the life that I want to live without having to work. That's a really critical one to look at. And then knowing, really importantly, when's the date for when you want that to happen. When you kind of set those things in place, I believe that creates an incredible amount of momentum, or a feeling of momentum, when you can build towards that.
Yeah, there's an excitement to that once you know where you're heading. So, Doc, if you recognize yourself in one or more of these, you're not alone. That is exactly where most of our members start. The financial abyss isn't about the money you make, it's about lacking that clarity and foundation and just making your money work the way it should. So, start by knowing the numbers, getting organized, and giving every dollar a purpose, and knowing where you're going. And they may seem like small steps, but they are the specific ones that will take you out of the abyss and onto that solid ground where you can then build from there. So if you'd like help with any of these, this is exactly what we do in Terra Firma membership. So check out the show notes, see how you can get more information, and take a next step with us. Thanks, as always, for joining us. And until next time, go be a wealth maverick.